America is heating up, and this time it's not just summer. It's survival. From Chicago to Atlanta, from St. Louis to Miami, nearly 200 million Americans are trapped beneath a suffocating blanket of heat. Entire cities are sizzling under temperatures that feel like 110 degrees Fahrenheit or more, with no wind, no relief, and no escape. But the worst part? The sky is shifting, and something even more dangerous is building above the plains. High above the heartland, a monstrous storm is forming, fast-moving, long-lasting, and devastating. It's called a derecho, a straight-line storm system with the fury of a hurricane and the speed of a freight train. Forecasters are warning. This could be one of the most violent storms in decades. Wind gusts up to 115 miles per hour, blinding rainfall, embedded tornadoes, and a threat that stretches across nearly a dozen states. It's a weather war. On one side, a relentless, blistering heat dome, baking the South and Midwest to the bone. On the other, a volatile, supercharged storm front with powerful thunder, flash floods, and deadly winds. Two forces, one nation, and almost no time left to prepare. This is not just another hot day. This is a double disaster, and it's unfolding right now. Stay with us, because what happens in the next 72 hours could change how America remembers the summer of 2025. It began quietly, a few degrees above normal, a warmer than usual breeze. Then, like someone lit a match to the sky, the temperatures exploded. By July 28th, the United States had entered one of its most extreme heat events in recorded history. The numbers are staggering. 200 million Americans, nearly two-thirds of the country, now under heat watches, warnings, and advisories. In Chicago, the heat index crept past 108 degrees Fahrenheit. In St. Louis, roads began to warp. 200 million Americans, nearly two-thirds of the country, now under heat watches, warnings, and advisories. In Chicago, the heat index crept past 108 degrees Fahrenheit. In St. Louis, roads began to warp. In Nashville, the overnight low? A suffocating 86 degrees Fahrenheit, offering no relief, not even in the dead of night. Across the South, it's even worse. Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, regions already used to sweltering summers now face extreme danger alerts. Humidity clings to every breath. People collapse on sidewalks. Hospitals open cooling tents. But that's only one side of the crisis. To the north in South Dakota, the sky churned with something far more violent. What started as isolated thunderstorms began to merge, feeding off the intense surface heat and atmospheric instability. Meteorologists saw it coming. The birth of a derecho, a wall of storms stretching hundreds of miles wide, hurtling east at terrifying speed. By nightfall, the storm had swallowed entire counties. Winds near 90 to 115 miles per hour tore through rooftops. Hail the size of golf balls smashed car windshields. Lightning danced across the horizon like a battlefield. And in the darkness, small embedded tornadoes twisted down, sudden, fast, and deadly. As the system races toward Minnesota, Iowa, and eventually Illinois, experts are sounding the alarm. This isn't a one-off thunderstorm. It's an atmospheric juggernaut. And it's headed straight into one of the most populated corridors in America. And yet, the heat hasn't let go. It's clinging, expanding, deepening. This isn't one disaster. It's two. At the same time, across the same land. This is what happens when the planet turns up the volume. And we're only halfway through the week. Sometimes disaster isn't loud. Sometimes it begins in silence. A fan that stops spinning. A child asking for water. A grandmother sitting too still on a porch. In Jackson, Mississippi, 62-year-old Carla Simmons passed out while watering her plants. Her air conditioner had failed hours earlier. By the time paramedics arrived, the heat index inside her small home had reached 108 degrees Fahrenheit. She was revived, but many others weren't as lucky. In Kansas City, a single mother of two, Dana Cruz, sat in bumper-to-bumper traffic during rush hour as the temperature outside hit 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Her car stalled. No AC. Two screaming kids in the back seat. All she could do was roll down the windows and pray someone would stop to help. Over in eastern South Dakota, the story changed, from slow-burning heat to sudden chaos. Farmer David Resner was checking his soybean fields when the sky went black. Within minutes, winds ripped through his land, flattening crops, splintering a barn, and snapping a decades-old oak in half like a toothpick. It felt like a freight train, he later told reporters. But there was no warning. Just boom. And everything was flying. In a mobile home park outside Sioux Falls, residents ran for cover as shingles peeled from rooftops and metal carports slammed into houses. One 8-year-old girl was pulled from the debris with a fractured leg, rescued by neighbors just before a second wave of storms swept through. And in Memphis, volunteers moved row after row of senior citizens into makeshift cooling centers inside old-school gymnasiums. Some hadn't eaten in hours. Others couldn't speak. Lips dry, eyes blank, dizzy from dehydration. These aren't just weather events. These are lives disrupted, shaken, permanently altered. For every wind gust or heat warning, there's a face behind it. A child trying to sleep on a sweat-soaked mattress. A firefighter guiding the blind through rising floodwater. A grocery store manager handing out the last bottles of water to a line of desperate families. This is no longer just a headline. It's personal. And it's on. Let's break it down. What exactly caused this chaos? What turned an ordinary summer into a nationwide crisis? It starts with 2 words. Heat dome. Imagine a giant, invisible lid placed over the eastern half of the United States. This lid is made of high-pressure air, thick, heavy, and unmoving. Under it, heat gets trapped. Day after day, the sun's energy builds. But instead of escaping back into the atmosphere, it's stuck, suffocating everything below. Meteorologists call this a persistent high-pressure ridge. But to millions on the ground, it felt like being locked in a car on a summer afternoon, with the windows up. This dome didn't just raise temperatures. It amplified them. Chicago saw back-to-back days over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for the first time in a decade. Nashville hit a record-breaking 106 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the Deep South, the feels-like temperature pushed past 120 degrees Fahrenheit. But then, as if the heat wasn't enough, came the Derecho. What's a Derecho? It's not just a thunderstorm. It's a monster. A derecho is a fast-moving line of violent storms that can stretch hundreds of miles, unleashing winds over 100 miles per hour. Strong enough to flip cars, destroy power lines, and flatten entire neighborhoods. Think of it like a hurricane but on land. No spiral. No warning. Just a horizontal blast of fury tearing across states in a matter of hours. This time it started in South Dakota, feeding off the very heat the dome created. Warm, unstable air surged upward. Cold air plunged downward. That collision, it created a bow echo on weather radar. A classic signature of an impending derecho. In just 6 hours, the storm system crossed Iowa, Illinois, and parts of Indiana, leaving behind snap trees, broken windows, and millions without power. Right when they needed it most. The heat fed the storm. And the storm fed the destruction. One meteorologist said. It was like nature turned on itself. And across the country, volunteers are handing out water bottles, setting up mobile cooling tents, and reminding us. Even in disaster, humanity rises. This week was a wake-up call. One violent storm. One relentless heat wave. One domino of disasters across cities, across lives, across a nation unprepared for nature's fury. But here's the part that chills scientists the most. This wasn't a once-in-a-century event. This might be our new normal. The heat dome still lingers. Oceans are warmer than ever. Storm systems are growing faster, stronger, and more unpredictable. And experts warn. If we don't adapt, nature will force us to. Could the next derecho be worse? Could it hit a bigger city? Could it form without warning? We don't have the answers yet. But what we do know is this. This isn't over. Tornado in the next 7 days could change everything. Water wave, we're watching the skies, the winds, and the waters every second. So here's your survival plan. White heavy check mark, subscribe to this channel, right now. White heavy check mark, hit that bell icon. Because when the next storm strikes, you won't want to be the last to know. White heavy check mark and share this video, because awareness saves lives. We cover the stories mainstream media skips. We follow the storms, so you can stay safe. And next time disaster strikes, you'll hear it here first. This is US A Weather Wave, where weather means survival. Until next time, stay alert, stay prepared, and stay safe.